Hi friends, please close your eyes for a bit. चलिए, welcome back and quick recap to begin with. What did we discuss in the last lecture? Beti? Intellectual influences on sociology. 1 second. Online students, please confirm that you can hear me and see me all right. If you could just type in a yes, that will be helpful. Thank you. Thank you. So please continue. Biology. How did biology influence sociology? Just like biological organisms, society has also evolved from simple to complex. Very good. Any other dimension of biology which we have also imbibed? What is the other dimension or thing which we've learned from bio? The organic analogy, which means what? Like an organism, society also has various parts which perform different functions and don't cross talk. Let him. Yeah. And something very crucial about that organic analogy you are missing out on. The different parts of social institutions perform different functions. And, Beti? Absolutely. There is a certain integration, interconnectedness between the different parts of the society as well. Just like in an organism. Very good. Then we discussed what? What is the other intellectual influence, brother? Yes? History. How does history influence socio? The notion of progress or periodization of time. Absolutely, how society passes through different historical stages. Any thinkers come to mind? Saint Pierre and the difficult guy, they influence the writings of a Comte or a Marx. Absolutely. Can you give me scholars who were influenced by the biology? Beti. Okay. And most importantly, whom do we attribute social Darwinism to? Spencer. Herbert Spencer. Very good. Then we discussed what, brother? ठीक है. So you're talking of humans as if they are a different species. हम ही हैं. ठीक है. So just like human beings have made progress in other fields of knowledge and that has helped in improving the economy and the technology. Similarly, we can possibly perfect or make great progress in social life. Right? Absolutely. What else, brother? Yes? Yes, yellow t-shirt. First lecture. Okay. Your neighbor? Yes. The impact of scientific method, which is reflected in whose writings? Durkheim, Comte. Great. Then, what else, brother? Yes. Yes? ठीक है. Also influenced by counter enlightenment ideas of who? Very good. Of D. Bonald and D. Maistre. है ना? And what were those counter enlightenment ideas, Betty? Just look up. Yes, yes. Sorry? Yes, what were the counter enlightenment ideas? Absolutely. So counter enlightenment scholars viewed enlightenment as a source of disorder and chaos in society. Right? And this influences the writings of who? Whose writings in sociology do we see this reflection or this influence in? Yeah? Durkheim it is, but that is, you just heard it from others and uttered it. है ना? So, what particularly about Durkheim's writings? Brother? At the back, yes. Your neighbor? Yes. What did Durkheim call this stage of chaos and anarchy? He used a term for this. Did I give you that term? What was it, brother? Anomy. He called it anomy. Okay? We'll be discussing it at greater length later, of course. ठीक है. Then we discussed what? Social survey. हाँ, social survey बताओ कुछ उसके बारे में. हाँ. Yes, so collecting quantifiable data to address social problems became popular after Eden's State of the Poor report. Earlier, social problems were explained away in terms of divine causation, etc. Great. Absolutely. Now these problems were viewed as social, right? And policy interventions accordingly sought. Great. Then what else? Yeah, what else, Bitya? Development of sociology in the United States of America. Tell me about it. There was a lot of turmoil, so sociology in the US emerged in the context of the socio-political turmoil created by the Civil War, the American Civil War. Lovely. Continue, brother. Yes? Yes. क्यों? पढ़ के नहीं आए? अच्छा, just to also, in general, I'm not commenting on you, but for everybody, if you experience an issue in communicating, because English is not our mother tongue, that is completely acceptable and that doesn't concern me also. Okay, a lot of us have a problem in framing coherent sentences in English. It is obvious because it's not our mother tongue. When you are asked to express your views or explain a particular thing, please freely do so in a mix of Hindi and English. That's perfectly acceptable. Okay? कि हिस्ट्री का बहुत इम्पैक्ट हुआ अर्ली सोशियोलॉजी पे, मार्क्स की राइटिंग्स में. इफ यू से दैट्स एज एक्सेप्टेबल एज इन प्रॉपर इंग्लिश. आई एम नॉट हियर चेकिंग योर इंग्लिश लैंग्वेज स्किल्स, है ना? या सो बताइए ब्रदर, इन चेक्स, ब्लू चेक्स. In 1865, the American Social Science Association was established. Wonderful. Continue. First lecture. ठीक है, I'll ask you tomorrow. ठीक है? हाँ brother. Sorry? You've skipped a lot of things. Before, straight jumping to Chicago school, before that, a lot of things happened. That's not wrong, but who was amongst the founding fathers of socio in the US? William Graham Sumner. And what was Sumner's orientation, brother? Yes, blue. Blue. You should all know your clothes colors. Tell me. Yes. What was Sumner's approach to the study of society? आप ही in specs and blue. Yes. शिकागो की मैं बात ही नहीं कर रहा, समनर का बताओ. Is he right? 1875. He developed the first course. And what was his orientation? You, whom I was originally asking. Yes. हाथ खड़ा करो. हाँ, बोलो. That is fine. How did he analyze society or social life? उनका रवैया या वर्ल्ड व्यू क्या था? Social Darwinism, absolutely. Influenced by Spencer. ठीक है. And there was a change in the this thing, right? Approach from social Darwinism in another direction. Under whose influence? Green t-shirt.
Under the influence of Lester Ward.
Lester Frank Ward. Thank you. What was the name of the book written by Ward? Have you revised? तो बताओ. या उसके ideas बताओ. Very good. So Ward championed the notion of a welfare state. Absolutely correct. So the state should make active interventions to solve the various concerns of with different sections of the society. What was the name of the book, Bitia? By Ward? Dynamic Sociology. है ना? ठीक है. Then now tell me somebody, Bitia, what was the Chicago school about? Evolutionary? Not really. No. Sorry. तुक्का नहीं मारना है. Your neighbor. Yes. A lot of rapid urbanization was taking place in Chicago. Absolutely, it became the hub, one of the hubs of sociological research. Great. Brother? Yes, raise your hand. Yes. Name some Chicago school scholars. Bina dekhe. Sorry? I can't hear. Louder, please. Burgess. Absolutely correct. Or? GH? Mead. बिल्कुल ठीक है. ग्रेट. फिर द प्रोग्रेसिव एरा वॉज ऑल्सो अ पीरियड ऑफ सोशल एक्टिविज्म. नेम सम एक्टिविस्ट स्कॉलर्स. गिलमन. बिल्कुल. दुबोए. ब्लैक एक्टिविस्ट स्कॉलर. एब्सोल्युटली ठीक है. ग्रेट. यहीं पे खत्म किया था. What I also want to do before moving to the next topic is glance through the PYQs from the topic emergence of sociology. ठीक है? Those PYQs were shared with you in the weekly assignment test. Okay? But I just want this thing, whether you have sufficient knowledge now to address these questions or not. Okay? I want just to share these with you. 2022 question. Civil Service Exam 2022. What aspects of enlightenment do you think paved the way for the emergence of sociology? Elaborate. Do we have the answer to this question? Do we have ample content on enlightenment and how it influenced the development of sociology? What aspects of enlightenment? Tell me. The scientific approach, rationalism, realism, social contract theory, or the political philosophies of scholars like Rousseau, etc. Smith's theory. All these guys, the various political philosophies, biological theory of evolution, all of that, the notion of progress, all of it is a part of enlightenment. Counter-enlightenment ideas were also a result of the enlightenment. Europe was the first and the only place where modernity emerged. Comment. I repeat, Europe, you don't need to write these questions, they are there in the weekly assignment already. And you can also get them like anywhere. Europe was the first and only place where modernity emerged. Comment. How do we address this question? Do you agree with this statement? Absolutely correct. Absolutely correct analysis. So we divide this question into two parts, two component parts. One is Europe was the first place where modernity emerged. Do we agree or disagree with this statement? Agree or disagree? Agree. And we explain why and how it happened. Right? With the whole starting from Renaissance and culminating with the emergence of modern society after the French and Industrial Revolutions. The second part is Europe was the only place where modernity emerged. Agree or disagree? Disagree. Why? USA is also modern, or Australia is modern, Japan is modern, right? And there are several modernizing societies including ours. है ना? तो absolutely correct approach. How did the intellectual forces lead to emergence of sociology? Discuss. Can we? What were those intellectual forces? Bio, history, progress, ityadi. Discuss the historical antecedents of the emergence of sociology as a discipline. Do we have content on this? क्या थे historical antecedents? Starting from the ancient period, then through Renaissance and Enlightenment, French and Industrial Revolution, etc. All of that. The challenge is it's a 10 marker. So you will have to make a very judicious use of space. In your notes, it will be possibly in 5 to 10 pages. Here you have to write only 2. Okay, so you have to condense it, focusing more on which aspect, say ancient period of Greek philosophers or French Industrial Revolution time. Clearly the immediate context for the emergence of sociology, which was the period of French and Industrial Revolution. So the ancient Greek philosophers we'll possibly mention in a single sentence, and that's about it. Are you with me? Then briefly upon Renaissance, and then far more importance to Enlightenment and the revolutions. ठीक है? 150 words. 10 marker. All 10 markers are 150 words, and 2 pages or 2 sides of a page. Okay? One second. Yeah. Can we skip the ancient part? Possibly. Or you can simply mention it in one sentence. Simply. It will be richer if you do mention it. That's the thing. How has enlightenment contributed to the emergence of sociology? 2015 question. Do we have content on this? Yes or no? Yes. 2013 question. Sociology emerged in Europe and flourished to begin with on the social reformist orientation in the USA. Comment. Do we have content on this? 2 parts. Emerged in Europe and flourished with the social reformist orientation in the USA. We don't need to go further back, but still, how did the French Revolution and Industrial Revolution play an important role in the emergence of sociology? 2012 question. Do we have ample content on this? Yes. Write a short note on 2011 question, emergence of sociology is an outcome of modernity and social change in Europe. Can we do that? Okay, so we have sufficiently covered the topic of emergence of sociology. One question being asked, how to get access to weekly assignment test? I did not get it. Please WhatsApp on tech support for any technical assistance, such as pertaining to the weekly assignments. How to remember so many scholars or philosophers? A, it is important in this subject. You need to. B, the list will only grow longer. Right? As we proceed, we have only just begun. The only way to do is multiple revisions. Develop a list of topic-wise scholars. Use some mnemonic techniques if you will. इनके वो short forms वालों, जैसे Greek philosophers का हमने बना लिया था स्पा, Socrates, Plato, Aristotle. ठीक है? या वो जो थे तुम्हारे मुगल रूलर्स, उनका भाजसा, कुछ मतलब नहीं होता इस शब्द का, बट बाबर, हुमायूं, अकबर, जहांपना नहीं, जहांगीर, शाहजहां, औरंगजेब, है ना? So that's what you do. Okay, these tend to have a certain stickiness and help you recall and remember, right? So such meaningless and useful mnemonics you can develop, and then उनको बार बार अपने नजरों के सामने से दौड़ाओ. Run that list through your eyes several times. Okay. Also in that list you can use some sort of a color coding. Say Marxist scholars you mention in red. Okay? Red is the color of revolution and the communist revolution, possibly. Okay, functional scholars you write in green or something. Develop some such whatever. Feminist scholars you write in the cliched pink. ठीक है, या पिंक हाइलाइटर से कर दो उनको. Something of the sort. There is no escaping multiple revisions. That's the only way. Yeah. Yeah. Any other doubts, brother? He's asking that after 2015, 14-15ish, questions like short notes on several things have not been asked. Earlier they were asked. So should we have a cut-off year in our minds while preparing from PYQs? Respectfully, that is incorrect. It's not that you have not been asked short notes on various topics after 2015. You have been. Okay? Secondly, not due to that reason, but in general, because there is a practical limitation on how much we can go back, keep it at about 10 years. 10 years of PYQs will be more than ample for every topic. Okay? So last 10 years topics we look at, questions we look at, and that should suffice. Okay? And before that there were slight changes in syllabus and the nature of the pattern of questions. Earlier, for example, some time back, 60 markers were asked. Now you have 20 and 10 markers being asked only. So all of that, keeping all these things in mind, last 10 years, previous years questions is a very decent this thing. Okay? Any other? Anything from the topics covered or in the topic covered in the last lecture? Yes, please. Her question is, do we need to mention about the French and Industrial Revolution while writing an answer mentioning the Enlightenment period? That would depend on the language of the question always. Okay? Qualifying that, say the question is specifically on Enlightenment. How did Enlightenment impact the emergence of the discipline of sociology? Let us say this is your question. Then you will mention various facets, other aspects of Enlightenment. Also the fact that Enlightenment paved the way for the French and Industrial Revolutions, which brought about significant changes in European society, to study which the discipline of sociology emerged. So yes, we should be mentioning that. Yes? Beti? Yes. These were also there in the Renaissance, in the Enlightenment period. Enlightenment was a maturation of the Renaissance thought. Look at it this way. Right? Or more of a greater application of Renaissance ideas or thought patterns. So we can mention, definitely. Yes? All of them. All of the topics we discussed under the intellectual influences were predominantly a product of the Enlightenment period. All of them. From the scientific approach, rationality, all of that. Political philosophies of Rousseau, etc., Montesquieu, Voltaire, sab kuch. Notion of all of that is Enlightenment thought. Yes? Okay, so the question is, what was it exactly that Lester Frank Ward was challenging in social Darwinism? He was specifically opposed to the idea that governments should not play a proactive role in society. According to Ward, the laws of social evolution should not be given free play. There has to be active governmental intervention, otherwise it will be detrimental. For the effect, it will be detrimental for a very large segment of the population. So this specifically on this he was opposed. Or kuch? Beti? Okay, while discussing Chicago school, I had mentioned neighborhood patterns, meaning how, say, housing is arranged. Different ways houses can be built in a neighborhood. Some urban neighborhoods may have very tall skyscrapers, like in Gurgaon. You'll have, 30-story buildings and whatnot, right? And they would have some common amenities, like a park, walking path, or whatever, right? Or it could be in another way, that you have bungalow types, individual bungalows and this thing. That was one very important dimension of this Chicago school. The study of the process of urbanization. You also had symbolic interactionism which emerged from Chicago. Symbolic interactionism was the theory of G.H. Mead, C.H. Cooley, these guys. That was also from Chicago. What that means, it will not be an opportune time in our course progress to explain that. In fact, while reading Sangwan on emergence, you may have come across several terms like symbolic interactionism or ethnomethodology, phenomenology. Please ignore them for now. We will be covering them as we proceed. But I cannot do justice to it in like a 2-minute answer. We'll be spending a whole lecture on what is symbolic interactionism while discussing Mead, who is one of the 6 thinkers in our syllabus. Emergence of sociology, according to Zetlin, was a reaction to Enlightenment. Meaning what? It was profoundly impacted by Enlightenment. Whatever the impact of Enlightenment we have discussed, no? Rationality and scientific approach, right? Counter-Enlightenment, all of that was had a profound bearing on the discipline when it emerged. That's what he's saying. Anything else? चले आगे फिर जीवन में? चलिए. Moving on to the next topic, which is sociology as a science. Sociology as a science. A question is, let me just take up before we move to that some online questions. What is the difference between Renaissance and Enlightenment periods? One is in the timeline. Renaissance was about 14th to 17th century. Enlightenment was 17th and 18th centuries, and mostly 18th century. Secondly, Renaissance was cultural flowering, so in art and literature and all of that. That was Renaissance what was mainly about. And kya naam hai tumhara? Enlightenment was in the realm of intellectual ferment, right? Or new theories, new explanations, new philosophies to explain various aspects of our social world, right? So, chaliye, moving on. Sociology as a science, and we have to write it like this, a big question mark. Is sociology a science, friends? A, forget the definitions of sociology which have been thrown at you but till now. Okay? Forget those definitions. Forget what the founding fathers said. Intuitively, with whatever little you know of the subject, you have picked it up after some groundwork, some research. Is it a scientific discipline? What's your sense? Is it a science? What's your intuitive sense or gut feel on the nature of the discipline? Is it a scientific subject or not? Partially? Huh? Let me reframe the question. In your school days, you had 3 streams: science, commerce, arts. If you would have taken up sociology, where would it lie? Arts? Pakka, not science? Can we then say that sociology is definitely... What is your intuitive sense? Huh? And why? Please explain why. If you're saying sociology is not scientific, why are you saying so? Beti? We cannot quantify human interactions. Why not? No, if you're saying human interactions can't be quantified, but say this is one human interaction we are having, teacher-student interaction, we can possibly quantify it, that we meet every day or 5 days out of 7 days in a week for a period of 4 or 5 months for a span of 2.5 hours. How, what greater quantification you want here? Isn't that very mathematical and quantifiable? Yes? You're saying human interaction varies with the situation, while interactions in the material world don't change. Won't they change, say, I don't know, interaction between a mass of a thing and whatever, some pressure which is being applied? Won't that change if the temperature of the room changes or the whatever changes? Okay. So while conducting experiments in the sciences proper, you make some aspects constant. And you can't do that, you're suggesting, in sociology? ठीक है. Brother?
So, in sociology there is a lot of subjectivity.
Firstly, what's your position? Is it a science or not?
No, not a proper natural science.
It's not a science. There's a lot of subjectivity, he argues, in this subject. Meaning what? What do you mean by subjectivity?
Things can change. Social processes can occur, things can change.
So is change not taking place in the natural world or the physical world?
Basic laws governing the natural world remain the same. Like Newton's laws.
मुझे भी वही आता है एक. Force is equal to mass into acceleration, है ना? And that you are saying applies everywhere, across the board. It is a universal kind of a formulation. And you cannot have a force is equal to mass into acceleration for the society. So he's saying you can't have universal generalizations the way you can in a physics or chemistry, you can't have it for society. Brother?
I'll have two reasons to call it not a science.
It is not scientific, he is suggesting.
Number one is the lack of controlled environments,
Hmm.
and number two is the universality of the outcomes.
So you can't have controlled environments in society, and secondly, you can't have
Universality of the outcome.
the outcome is not same.
Like for
Example.
example, if he asks what is happiness to you, you might have a different answer, I might have a different answer.
Okay.
Let's say we have a chemical reaction. No matter where it is done, the outcome will be always same. Second is like controlled environments. Like there's a lot of lack of objectivity, and as we talked in, a thing was mentioned in previous lecture also, that the inter-US biases also comes into play. Wherein in a scientific disciplines, the person who is performing
So the researchers' biases are bound to affect the research in sociology, not in the other sciences, or the pure sciences as we may call them. Beti,
So there can be arguments both in favor and I have an example for that.
you take your pick. I mean, take a stance.
So it is a science.
You're saying it is a science. No crosstalk. It is a science.
So when we take a very macro view, as we discussed, that we see a pattern. For example, there's a relationship between a son and a father. We can have some characteristics of it. We can define it in a way that will not change. But if we take a very micro view of that relationship, it changes because we don't know it's a friendly relationship, it's a very stern relationship, it's a friendly relationship, and that is how in a micro view it doesn't seem like a science, but in a macro view,
She's saying if you look at the macro picture, sociology seems to be a science because you can identify repetitive patterns, say in the father-son relationship. Okay? But if you look at it at a micro level, you would find important variations. Beti? It is a science. Samjho. Huh, how? So she is saying scientific knowledge is also not sacrosanct or inviolable or a universal eternal truth. Huh? Newton ka force is equal to mass into acceleration is also no great shakes. Yes. Science also has biases. But you're using it both ways in a single sentence, which is confusing. नहीं, you are saying कि हम अपना नहीं लगाते हैं. You are who? The researcher. Are you talking as a researcher? That the researcher does not keeps his own thoughts or biases aside while conducting scientific research, also in sociology. Also in sociology. Beti? It's not, madam. Hanji. Then why do you say it's not a scientific discipline? Emotions of the who? The researcher or of the subjects of research? Huh? So, why should that make it unscientific? Objectivity is from the standpoint of the researcher. That researcher's emotions, his state of mind, his biases, his thought patterns don't affect the research. So if the subjects have certain emotions or biases or etc., that's perfectly fine. That does not negate sociology being a science. ओके, ठीक है बेटी. It's a fuzzy science, is what she's suggesting. It is a science, but it's a fuzzy science. It's not a true science. And sociology is not all of that?
Then we arrive at the body of the conclusion. So for the sociology, there are some aspect of things that can be arrived at the body of the conclusion, but we cannot measure what is, like how caste is quantifiable. It is not.
You're saying many aspects of social life are not quantifiable.
Yeah. And
Such as?
caste. Like
कास्ट को तो अभी वो कास्ट सेंसस करने पे सब उतारू हो रहे हैं कि क्वांटिफाई करना है.
we cannot measure the degree of religiousity in a society.
You can't, she's saying, for instance, you can't measure the degree of religiosity in a society. What if I were to conduct a survey to measure the degree of religiosity? I devise a scale. Okay, so my question would be like, how religious are you on a scale of say 0 to 10? And then these guys will mark it out and say, I will then come to a conclusion that 20% say they are, say, if 8 to 10 is very religious, are very religious. And
Now, you marked how, like you went on a survey of religiosity, survey of how religious you are. But religiosity can be turned Hinduism, how many of you other to proper Hinduism, like they are different facets of religiosity.
so I can capture those multiple facets. She's saying they are different. For example, my other questions, there's no single question survey. I'll have a whole survey questionnaire. My other questions would be, how frequently do you visit temples or mosques or whatever places of worship? Choices would be like all every day or 3 days a week or 1 day a week or on festivals or never.
Discipline of the science. Now, science deals with constant objects. A human person, if an external force is put to a process, they will not react to that process. When you go ahead and do same things on a human tend to give their view to an external stimuli. If you
All right. So humans tend to react differently to external stimuli. Brother, at the back. Then what? Okay. Is that your viewpoint, that sociology is quite similar to stereotypes and common sense? So what is your stance? Is it a science or not? It is a science. Why? So you don't justify it being a science simply because you want it to be accepted, no. You have to go into the merits of the knowledge bank. Critics will argue sociology is no different from common sense. How do you defend it? No, it is different. It is scientific. What's your argument there, brother? It's not a science, okay. She's saying there is bound to be, it depends on who the researcher is. The research outcome depends on who the researcher is. For example, if we are conducting research on domestic violence, a male researcher and a female researcher will come to different conclusions. Or if we are conducting research on caste atrocities, a Brahmin researcher and a Dalit researcher will come to different conclusions. Is that what you're suggesting? So who the researcher is, what his background is, what his moral and political commitments are will affect his research. How many of you agree with that? Say on the issue of caste, very touchy issue. We are bound to come to different conclusions depending on our own social situation, our own caste. How many of you think that is likely? ठीक है. And others think that no, it really doesn't matter what your caste is while conducting research on caste. Yes?
Depends on what first we need to establish a basic understanding of what we agree on.
We gone?
Like people, what some basic assumptions of what is right, and only then.
Let's stick to the discipline. We're talking about the society, what it does, we don't care. But we care, we measure that, but that's not our domain or that's not our task. That we develop a consensus in society. That's too tall a order. We are not that important as sociologists.
I mean to say whether like caste system is wrong. Like this has to be first assumed that this is something not desirable, and only then, like, not that I mean that I support it, but what I mean to say is that
You need to develop some consensus. If not in the wider society, at least in the research community or the community, the committee of sociologists.
what are some basic assumptions that we need before we think of
Is that necessary for a scientific discipline? That you must start with a consensus? Chaliye, let me take some online inputs as well. It is definitely a science. It is based on empirical evidences and things are not just assumed in sociology. Sociology is a science because the relation, and please don't write because as BCZ, because the social relationship we found in society are universal as other sciences. We can see that the social problems which arose in Europe are not confined to Europe only, but these problems are also found in other societies. Societal issues are universal like pure science. So, like we learned during the Industrial Revolution, Europe witnessed a lot of turmoil, a lot of problems. Now that we are industrializing, are we also facing similar or same social problems? Kya? Which problems are same that Europe also experienced, we are also experiencing? Raise your hands and speak. Inequality, slum development, unemployment, rapid urbanization, pollution, diseases, crime, child labor, ityadi. Yeah? It's science. Sociology is science because science is also evolving and changing like society. Another student says it's not science because in science researchers do lab experiments. In sociology we don't do lab experiments. Do we or do we not? It's not a science, but method is similar as science. Chaliye. Friends, before we can convincingly arrive at an answer to this question, let us try to first understand what is science. And once we have some agreement on that, perhaps we can then, benchmark sociology or check whether sociology meets those criteria. So let us try to appreciate what is science. Forget sociology for now. What is science in general? And then we will see if sociology khari utarti hai un maapdandon pe to be deserving to be, called a science. In sociology, as far as whether sociology is a science, we have different viewpoints. What about physics? Is physics a science? Yes or no? Absolute unanimity on that? Is chemistry a science? Yes or no? Why? What is it about these disciplines which make them a science? Or what is a scientific discipline? Just throw keywords at me. What comes to mind when you hear the word science? Brother? Science is, but also theoretical, yeah. There are both dimensions. The practical is the application part, but any application is based on a theoretical basis. Brother? Empirical evidence. साइंस जो होती है वो तथ्यों पे आधारित होती है और फैक्ट्स as we call them. Yes, brother? Recurring results. What do you call that in a better way? Recurring results? Yeah? Repeatability. Repeatability of outcomes, okay. Or? Brother?
Study of the phenomena, social biology, study of the processes that we are living in.
Couldn't get vaguer than that, yeah. Very honestly. Brother? Objectivity. What do you mean by objectivity? Do not. Let's put it this way. Researchers, or the outcome of the research is not affected by the personal biases, prejudices, social background, value preferences, moral commitments, political inclinations, ityadi, gender, caste, etc. of the researcher. That is objectivity. ब्रदर, बेटी पहले हाथ खड़ा करते हैं, फिर जब टीचर बोले कि बिटिया बोलो तब बोलेंगे. ठीक. यस ब्रदर. Okay, so we establish cause-effect linkages or causal relationships we find. It is universal. What do you mean universal? Who said universal? Same results. More than that, same results across time and space. Like force is equal to mass into acceleration, चाहे अमेरिका हो या इंडिया हो. Pardon my limited knowledge of science. Okay, this example only will come up again and again. Till that point, I'm explaining science. So this applies whether it is US or India or Japan or anywhere. Yes or no, brother? Meaning what? I don't know. Is that like one of the defining characteristics of a scientific discipline? Beti? So it's facts we've mentioned and it's logical. And based on reasoning को क्या बोलते हैं? Rational. ठीक है. और बताइए brother. Science is the study of nature. Natural phenomena. So how about say IT? IT, computers? Is that science? Like silica and all?
It's engineering, not science. It's engineering, not science. It's like science is natural science.
नहीं, but जैसे कंप्यूटर साइंस भी तो कुछ होता है. Or an application part. But it's based on some theoretical or knowledge basis, which we can call science. And is that related, you would say, to natural phenomena, upon which computing technology is based upon?
Semiconductors, for example, have a lot of natural phenomena that play in the form of how electrons move, and although like semiconductors are piece of technology, but so like binary coding of things, like in supercomputers there is qubits, which is based on electron movements, subatomic particle movements. So it is more and more actually coming close to natural sciences now in the coming years, in the coming decade.
Okay. And is that a defining kind of a characteristic of, or does that explain to us what makes or constitutes a science? But or should put another way, should we say that only those bodies of knowledge are science which study natural phenomena?
There are also social sciences.
ठीक है. ब्रदर, सॉरी, हाँ, ये किसी ने क्यों नहीं बोला? एक्सपेरिमेंटेशन है ना. एंड व्हाट्स एन एक्सपेरिमेंट? That's such an unconvincing explanation of what an experiment is. We analyze data. Come on now. You conduct an experiment, you collect data and then you analyze it. But experimentation क्या होता है?
Proving the hypothesis.
Proving hypothesis, again, that's not satisfactory.
Sir, in science there are theories which can be proved beyond reasonable doubt through experiments which can be repeated.
Okay, so repeatability and
For
it can be proved, है ना? बिल्कुल. ठीक है, hence proved. ये होता है हमेशा साइंसेस में.
So it makes science ever evolving, plus it makes new researchers take a stand. मतलब जैसे पहले किसी ने रिसर्च किया है उसको क्रिटिसाइज या काउंटर करने के लिए उसमें और डेवलप करने के लिए एक्सेप्शंस प्ले अ रोल इन पार्ट.
So you're saying science also includes the openness to be criticized or to be countered with, say, anomalies or, ठीक है. Science can be questioned. I think that's the underlying idea. Scientific knowledge is not, sacrosanct or eternal truth, sanatan, कि भैया हो गया, it cannot be this thing. Is associated with innovations and discoveries. Okay, that's more the application part of it. Innovations. Okay, we have some things here. Universality, have we mentioned that here? Where? Universal. Research and analysis. Experimentation, we study parameters of a real life situation or scenario. Prior assumptions, replication of results, that's repeatability. Experiments, formulas, quantitative, है ना? It's quantifiable. Brother? We've passed that question. Whether sociology is a science or not, we'll come to it again. But for now, we are trying to focus our energies on whether or what is a science. And in which you have rightly pointed out, it's a systematic body of knowledge. Generalization, did we mention that? We didn't, we should. Yes, we arrive at generalizations. Like, why? Force is equal to mass into acceleration. Yes. So friends, now that you have identified a lot of criteria of what makes a discipline scientific, now you try to gauge sociology on these as parameters. क्या sociology इन पे खरी उतरती है? Is it based on empirical evidence or facts? Yes or no? Quickly. ठीक है. Is it quantitative? Yes or no? If you want your point of view to be somewhat accepted tentatively, you have to be louder. Okay? Whichever side is louder wins. Right? Is sociology quantitative? Yes, sirs win it. Is there repeatability? And don't you mark these as correct. Okay? I'm just taking a public poll. It is not a reflection of the true nature of the discipline. Is it characterized by objectivity? Is sociology or sociological research characterized by objectivity? Meaning, do the values of the researcher, the prejudices, the social background of the researcher have a bearing on sociological research? Whether on caste or gender or poverty? Yes, it does affect. Matlab, is it objective or not? No. Okay. Are we able to establish cause-effect relationships? Innovations होती हैं या स्टेड एंड स्टैटिक सा है? अभी तक तो हम वही 200 साल पुराना पढ़ रहे हैं, Huh? Are there innovations you think associated with the field of sociology? Experiments can we conduct in sociology? Sociological research? Can we? Pakka? For example, I want to research on divorce. Can we experiment? Tell husbands to, make their wives' lives hell to the point of no return and see when does exactly marital breakdown take place? Or if I want to conduct research on suicide, do we drive people to the point of it? Indirect experimentation, like how? How? I don't know. Tell me how. Sorry? Very good. So we can perhaps do indirect experimentation in a lot of areas of social life. Generalizations, that too of a universal character, can you have in sociology? Yes or no? Those who say yes, please raise your hands that you can have. And give me examples of any universal generalizations that you can think of. Beti, at the back. What about it? Okay, that's a no-brainer. है ना कि हर इंसान के माता पिता तो होंगे अगर वो पैदा हुआ है. So a family is a universal, is what you're suggesting. Beti? That's a generalization that would apply across the board to all human beings across time and space. Bete? What about them? Universally, he is saying the father would nurture the child, irrespective of culture, irrespective of class, irrespective of nationality, etc. All human beings, irrespective of everything, nurture their children. That's a universal. Brother? Abortion? Emotions. I'm sorry, I misheard you. Okay. Elaborate on that. So these are universal emotions, human emotions, love and hatred and jealousy and greed, and they exist in every society, every culture. But can you give me a generalized law, as in how those emotions play out or how they are expressed? And who amongst you think you cannot have universal generalizations in sociology? How do you counter all these amazing examples that have sprung up in our conversation?
Sir, like 2 points, she said family, the first example. Now, there's a group called Pew Research Group. It's a very renowned research group. So, for example, in the US society, one said father-son relationships. So, in Asian American communities, the single parenthood rate is very low, like 5-6%. But in the same country, the same society, the same setup, black Americans have it at 73%. So there's no universality when we are talking this. And when we go across the globe, the diversity in those statistics is just immense. It greatly depends. Like someone said, nurturing.
1 second, Beti. So he is countering your example. He is saying there are lot many variations even within a given society. Say American society, African Americans have a very high incidence of single parent families, right? While Asian Americans have a very, very low incidence of single parent families. And that negates your point that family is universal. So her argument is that family as a social arrangement in this form or that is a universal. You may have variations within it. So family forms may vary, right? The composition may change from one society to the other. So in some societies you may have joint and extended families, in some you may have nuclear families, in some you may have same-sex families, in some you may have single-parent families. But family as a social institution exists in all societies.
But then we can't call any interaction family. For example, in East Europe, there's a lot of child abandonment rate. So there has to be some.
What about abandoned children, he's saying?
East Europe, it's very common because of the out of wedlock children and parents.
And if I may add, there are a lot of people who also do not undergo this family system.
A lot of people who say don't get married, huh? They don't start off with their own families, huh?
universally generalized because when we are studying sociology, we are talking about social institutions.
Hmm.
When we are talking about the relationship between father, daughter, or like any two people within our social institution, that will be defined through psychology basically.
So you are saying you cannot generalize.
We can generalize. As
If it is based on psychology, then won't it vary from one to the other?
जब वेरी करेगा जैसे what he said कि अलग-अलग families हैं, so that is psychologically आप उसको पढ़ रहे हो कि दोनों का relation कैसा है या
नहीं, वो कह रहा है समाज में वो एग्जिस्ट ही नहीं करती है या बहुत कम एग्जिस्ट करती है किसी समाज में बहुत ज्यादा एग्जिस्ट करती है. दैट इज हिज पॉइंट. द इंस्टीट्यूशन वुड बी देयर, शी इज सजेस्टिंग. यस बेटी. She is saying these are exceptions, but he is saying that data is too high to be called an exception. 73%. ठीक है. So we are not really sure whether we can have universal generalizations or not. Is it logical and rational? Is sociology logical and rational? Beti? It's not right.
it does not fit actually.
It doesn't fit.
If we take the example of marriage, so there's a definition called modes and values. It says that it's a union of a man and woman which gives legitimacy to the offspring. But in South Asia, there's a case of Nair community in Kerala. I won't go into detail, but they follow a very different form of marriage, and this definition does not apply to that.
Or even same-sex unions. है ना?
Polyamory and all of that. So it's not right to put one single definition and say that it covers everything.
Okay, so her point is that you cannot have a generalized understanding of family or whatever in sociology. Whether it's logical and rational, whether this discipline is logical and rational or, dare I say, irrational. Or if irrational is too harsh, non-rational. How is it? Rational तुक वाला है या बेतुका है? बेतुका है. So overall, okay, if you try to now assess on these parameters, is sociology a science? What's the hunch? Come on, take a stance. How many of you think it is a science? Raise your hands. Somehow this particular block is particularly of the view. Huh? How many of you think sociology is not a science? Raise your hands. And the others are very non-committal. ठीक है. लिखो. Give the subheading, what is science? What is science? Science is a systematized body of knowledge. Science is a systematized body of knowledge based on क्या? Empirical evidence or data. Full stop. A scientific discipline formulates generalizations a scientific discipline formulates generalizations or establishes, I repeat, a scientific discipline formulates generalizations or establishes cause-effect relationships. Or establishes cause-effect relationships in order to explain the phenomena under study. ठीक? Full stop. Explain the phenomena under study. Cause effect relationships or generalizations like क्या? Force is equal to mass into acceleration. Good. A discipline, full stop डालने के बाद, a discipline can be termed as scientific. धन्यवाद भैया. A discipline can be termed as scientific if it uses क्या? The scientific method. Wonderful. So कौन सा डिसिप्लिन साइंस है जो साइंटिफिक मेथड का इस्तेमाल करता है? वो डिसिप्लिन साइंस है. Full stop. The scientific method involves, बता दो, सब पता है. कैसे? Experimentation. Involves experimentation. In a controlled environment. Experimentation in a controlled environment. What do you mean by experiment? Experiment basically entails, you are trying to establish a relationship between two variables by changing one of them and observing or recording the change it produces in the other, keeping other things constant. For example, if you want to establish the relationship between force and acceleration, what do? You pick up a ball or a mass, object of mass, say 2 kg, then you apply force 5 Newton, तो इतना acceleration produce हुआ. You will note it down. 10 Newton डाला तो इतना हुआ, 15 Newtons पे इतना हुआ, 50 readings लोगे. That's your data, and that's how you establish the relationship between these very two difficult variables, force and acceleration. ठीक? क्या लिखा है बेटी अभी तक? Just read out the sentence from the beginning. Comma. Observation and accurate recording of the data. तो आपके पास डेटा आ गया, फिर क्या करोगे? प्रोसेसिंग द डेटा. To arrive at a generalization or establish a relationship between the variables involved. ठीक है? One integral part, लिखो नहीं पूछ रहा हूं, one integral part of the scientific method you guys did not mention, or of what constitutes science. क्या? Scientific method का एक integral part है which none of us mentioned. क्या? Brother? Aim. ठीक है, that is of course a given. Yes? Classification, that would be during the processing of the data. Temperament. Hypothesis formulation, all of that, yeah, is like assumed. Beti? Sampling. What I was looking for, like, so if I conduct an experiment and come to a certain conclusion as a scientist, say I conduct this research on the relationship between force and acceleration, and I come to a certain conclusion, will you accept it? Will you accept it? No, why not? Or when will you accept it? No, not academic approval and all, that's pedestrian. Absolutely. In other words, what we call verification. Yes or no? हम क्या फोर्स और एक्सेलरेशन के लॉ डिस्कवर कर रहे हैं? क्या कर रहे हैं? कि जो न्यूटन भाई ने कहा था, does it really hold true or not? We are trying to do that or establish that in a lab type condition, and we find it to be true. So we don't accept Newton just because he said it, but because it is established to be true on further verification by experiments, repeated experiments. Yes or no? तो लिखो ना. Scientific knowledge is subject to verification. Full stop. Scientific laws are कैसे? Universal in nature. Scientific laws are universal in nature and hold true. And hold true across time and space. Full stop. Scientific research is characterized by क्या? Objectivity. सब तो पता है. Scientific research is characterized by objectivity. That is, i.e., the value preferences and prejudices of the who? Researcher. Affect or do not affect? Do not affect. Do not affect the outcome of the research. ठीक? Full stop. Science is characterized by empiricism, rationality, and skepticism. Is that a correct statement to make? Should you be skeptical as a scientist? What do you mean by skepticism? Should you be always doubting or questioning? Or does science command acceptance? It encourages questioning. It encourages one to challenge the previously held beliefs. You know, unlike, say, which body of knowledge compels you literally to submit or accept it as true? Religion. Yes, so no, religions mostly would expect obedience and blind acceptance, but science, on the other hand, encourages a questioning attitude. Right? So science is always open to criticisms and modifications and the like. That is why verification is so integral a part of the scientific method. You don't have to accept some scientific truth simply because it has been going on since ages, or simply because some great fellow called a Newton or an Einstein stated so. Yes or no? You can always, if you can, prove them wrong. And the day you do, you will be the new Newton or the new Einstein. Right? So science encourages skepticism. ठीक है? मतलब it's always open to questioning, criticism. Now coming back to our fundamental, or the question we began with, which is whether we are scientific or not. Okay, we've understood what is science. Now friends, whether sociology is a science or not, the founding fathers of the discipline were crystal clear in their minds that sociology is a scientific discipline. According to them, it is no less a science than a physics or chemistry. It is as much a science, if not more. Are you with me? And this viewpoint that sociology is a scientific discipline, which was endorsed by, championed by the founding fathers, whether a Comte or a Durkheim or a Marx, is known as positivism. Positivism means what? Simply, मैं लिखवा दूंगा, समझ लो पहले. Positivism simply means the view that sociology is a science. That the scientific method which is used in physics or chemistry, the very same method can also be applied in sociological research. And according to founding fathers, particularly Comte, most explicitly in the writings of Comte, sociology is very much a science. Not only is it no less than other sciences like physics or chemistry, in fact, he termed sociology as a queen science. Science नहीं है, साइंसों की रानी है. It is the most complex of all sciences, the most important of all sciences. And that is why its development was also later than the other sciences. पहले जो छोटी मोटी साइंसें होती हैं, ये फिजिक्स केमिस्ट्री वगैरह, ये डेवलप हुई, तब जाके सोशियोलॉजी जैसी बड़ी साइंस, महान साइंस, कॉम्प्लेक्स साइंस डेवलप हो पाई. यू नीड टू अंडरस्टैंड लोअर लेवल फिनोमिना एटम वैटम के लेवल पे और बायोलॉजी के लेवल पे, देन ओनली यू कैन अंडरस्टैंड मोर कॉम्प्लेक्स फिनोमिना लाइक सोसाइटी. सो क्या है सोशियोलॉजी? ऐसी वैसी साइंस नहीं है, क्वीन साइंस है अकॉर्डिंग टू पिताजी श्री कॉम्टे. मोर इंपॉर्टेंटली इज वाई. Why were the founding fathers so convinced, without a shred of doubt, that sociology is indeed a scientific discipline? They were of the view, friends, that, social life is not arbitrary. Human behavior and social relationships follow a very clear, definitive pattern. Just like you have certain laws governing the natural world, similarly you have laws governing the social world, which we need to uncover. We matlab sociologists or researchers. Human behavior is not fickle. We cannot act any which way we want. How we behave is greatly determined by who? The society. Literally, society has clearly laid down how different members of the society are expected to behave. We matlab the individuals, the members who comprise the society, we simply play out our respective parts. I'm a teacher. It's not up to me to decide how I have to conduct myself as a teacher. I'm not the first teacher and I'm not the last. I am one amongst scores of teachers which this society has, or who have played their respective parts in the society. How a teacher is expected to behave or conduct himself with the students has been already decided by who? Society. I am merely playing my part. Yes or no? Similarly, I am playing the role of a father. And how I am supposed to behave as a father has been clearly laid down by the society. And I will conform to what the society expects from me as a father. So if the society expects me to take care of my children, to provide them physical and emotional security, I will do that. Or to provide, earn and provide for them financially, I will do that. It's not of my choice. Are you with me? So social relationships are also as per, or they are also on expected lines. So what we can do, we can collect, we matlab researchers, those who are studying or analyzing social life, sociologists, researchers, we can collect large scale data from the society. So if I observe his relationship with his father and his with his father, hers with hers and hers with hers and for 100 or 99 people, can I predict the nature of the relationship of the 100th person in the classroom? Yes or no? Yes. With a fair degree of accuracy, we will find that we can predict, because social relationships are not arbitrary, are not whimsical, they follow a pattern set by the society. Are you with me? So just like in physics or chemistry, you collect large scale data and you establish relationships, you find out patterns and then use it to predict the next outcome. Yes or no? Once you have this law, force is equal to mass into acceleration, what do you do with it? You know now that if a 10 kg ball I apply 10 Newton force, how much acceleration it will produce. Similarly, we can collect large scale data about marital behavior of 99 persons in the society and predict based on that of the 100th member of that social group. So we also work in terms of, or we rely upon quantifiable data. Using quantifiable data, we identify patterns. Once having identified patterns and frame generalizations accordingly, then we can also predict how society will move or how social behavior will be of a set of persons. Social life is not random or arbitrary or whimsical. Are you with me? This is what we call positivism, or the view that sociology is a scientific discipline. Guys, why can't I behave any which way as a teacher? As a teacher, for example, can I do a bhangla over here? Really? Seriously speaking. Can you do a bhangla? Or can I come here in a pair of shorts and t-shirt? Yes or no? Have you ever seen a teacher do that? Yeah? Quite remarkable. Huh? But why wouldn't you expect me to do that? Society uses control mechanisms. So dare I come here in a shorts and t-shirt, what will you guys do? Ridicule you. How dare you? But you will. But you will, because I'm the one who's violated the expectations of the society. So to hell with the power equation, as it were, right? And you will ridicule me. Right? If I also don't happen to be at the top of the organization, I'll be thrown out. Yes or no? कोई टीचर आ जाए किसी स्कूल में शॉर्ट्स और टी शर्ट में, तो वो बोल देगा रिसेप्शन पे कि सर आप घर जाओ जब उतर जाए. Something. Yes or no? So the society will employ control mechanisms. And in the first place, I will not dare to do it. Why? Because through socialization, I have also internalized the expectations of the society. So it's not in my hands. What I do as a teacher, as a father, as a student, as a brother, as a sister, as a doctor, as an engineer, as a whatever. You know, this dialogue comes to mind from this Anand film कि ये दुनिया stage है और हम सब किरदार हैं and we are literally just playing out our parts, right? It is like that. You know, we are merely playing out our respective roles or parts. The stage is set by the society. So you will find all fathers, or most fathers, nearly all fathers, behaving in the same nurturing manner towards their children. Teachers behaving in the same manner towards their students, and so on and so forth. This is what we call positivism. लिखो. आप लोगों का असली मन लिखने में ही होता है ना? Yes. I can't hear you. If the rules of the society change, then the new set of players in the society will again behave according to the social expectations. The new set of expectations or the new rules of the game laid down by the society. So again, they are not of one's own choosing. So, likho. Positivism. ब्रैकेट में सोशियोलॉजी एज अ साइंस, ब्रैकेट क्लोज, कोलन और लिखो. Positivism is a philosophy which considers that sociology is a scientific discipline. Full stop. Positivists consider that the scientific method can be applied to study the society. Full stop. एक बात बताओ. Tell me. Don't write this down. I'm asking you something. Why is it called positivism? You should have asked me this question. But since none of you did, I do. Why is it called positivism? What's positive about it, Bitya?
Because many were of the thought that this is not a scientific discipline. So these people who believed in it gave a positive thought about it.
It's a positive thought. Okay. No. Yes. Okay. That's very, what should I say, innocent, but not correct. Beti, why do we call it positivism? Because science has a positive connotation in Samaj, that's why it's positivism. No. Brother?
Sociology, sir, positivism is the theory which is given by the purist of that subject. Because when they started that subject, they were in the positive or they were in the pro phase of that. This is the theory, this is the theory.
So they were in agreement with the view that sociology is a science, and that's why it's called positive. Like they have a positive.
Because they were purist of that subject.
So why is it called positivism?
Sir, because when they would have been studying that subject, there would have been people that believe that there is a scope to study sociology as a different subject, and there could have been people believing that it is covered by all the existing fields of knowledge. So people who were in the positive positive side of that, this is the subject that this needs to be studied. That's why I think.
Nahi. Sorry. Beti? Because these guys were repudiating the negation, the negative thought that sociology isn't a science. Huh? लोग उसको नहीं मान रहे थे. इन लोगों ने तो पैदा किया था सब्जेक्ट, डॉर्कहाइम और कॉम्टे. हाँ, ये तो जननी है हमारे. राइट? सो द सब्जेक्ट ओरिजिनेटेड विद दीज गाइज. ब्रदर?
Earlier there was a thought that whatever the sociological social problems are there in society, they are due to the
Because these guys had a positive approach to solve social problems.
sir, there was this divine theory that those are due to the past sins. This is happening to you. You are poor because
This view that society can be studied using scientific method. Why is this called positivism?
sir, because
Not the whole discipline of sociology.
it gave a way that social problems could be solved using scientific methods.
ठीक है, नहीं, not of this. None of these. The reason is, yes. So what makes it positive? You're absolutely right. But why does it make it positive? Yes, it is on those lines. Basically, friends, the word positivism is derived from the French word positif. लिखवा दूंगा, लिखो. Positif. Okay, please write down. The term positivism is derived from the French word positif. Meaning imposed on the mind by experience. That is, only true knowledge is that. Do you want me to repeat the whole thing? The term positivism is derived from the French word positif, meaning imposed on the mind by experience, i.e., only true knowledge is that which is based upon, sensory experience or empirical evidence. मतलब कि positive is the root word, friends. Positive, imposed on the mind by experience. So whenever you are taking some readings, you've seen something with your eyes, okay, or some such sensory experience. That is how that empirical data has been collected. Are you with me? Full stop. Comte, in his book the title of the book is A Course in Positive Philosophy. You can put it in quotes or something. A Course in Positive Philosophy suggests that positive, English wala, positive philosophy writes that the same scientific method which is used in the natural sciences can also be used in sociological research. ठीक. Comte, in his book A Course in Positive Philosophy, suggests that the same scientific method which is used in the natural sciences, like say physics or chemistry, can also be used in sociological research. Full stop. Some of the main principles of positivism are as follows. First, unity of the scientific method. What do we mean by unity of the scientific method? This thing only what we've just written. That the same scientific method can be applied across sciences. Across all sciences, the same scientific method can be used. This is the meaning of the phrase unity of the scientific method. That whether it is physics or chemistry or sociology, we can use the same scientific method. ठीक? Second, the objective of scientific inquiry is to study the phenomena under study, explain the phenomena under study. The objective of scientific inquiry is to explain the phenomena under study. So what is the purpose or objective of why do we conduct scientific studies? To explain the phenomena under study and arrive at generalizations or laws. And why do we arrive at these generalizations? How do they help us in life? So that we can predict future behavior. Like we said, if we know force and mass, we can predict the acceleration which will be produced. To arrive at generalizations or laws in order to predict future outcomes. In order to predict future outcomes. ठीक है? Third, scientific knowledge. Scientific knowledge is empirically testable. Empirically testable. Fourthly, the researcher or the scientist should be careful that his research is not colored or not affected by his values or moral preferences. ठीक है? Can you tell me what's like a one word thing for the last point we've written? Objectivity. What we call objectivity. ठीक है? Next para. For Comte, sociology is the queen science. Absolutely. Sociology is the queen science. Full stop. Human behavior and the whole society is subject to invariable laws. Is subject to invariable laws. Full stop. Our task as sociologists is to क्या वेरीफाई के पहले तो ढूंढोगे ना क्या है is to identify the laws governing human behavior is to identify the laws governing our task as sociologists is to identify the laws governing human behavior and social life. Full stop. For that, the sociologist should treat his subject matter. The sociologist should treat his subject matter in the same way as a physicist or chemist does. You know, friends, in fact, another positivist founding father of the discipline, Durkheim, he said, or according to him, the subject matter of sociology is what he called social facts. Okay, I'm not explaining to you the meaning of social facts just now. We'll discuss that later. But he says the subject matter of sociology, or what we study in sociology, is, he called it social facts. And he says the first rule to study social facts or to conduct sociological research is you treat social facts as things, vastu, inanimate objects. Are you with me? So just like a physicist or a chemist would treat their subject matter, it's a lifeless object about which they are collecting large-scale quantifiable data. Similarly, in sociology also, we have to treat our subject matter in the same fashion. In a very detached manner, we have to collect large-scale data from the members of the society about whatever phenomena we are analyzing or studying. So you have to treat subject matter as things, the subject matter of sociology. Okay, please write down. And don't worry about, not knowing what social facts are. We'll study that later. Okay, but the important point right now is that Durkheim, like Comte, suggested that we have to approach our subject matter in the same fashion as a physicist would. Okay? Betty, what's the last sentence we've written?
For that, the sociologist should treat his subject matter in the same way as the physicist or chemist does.
And for what? What's the previous sentence?
Our task to sociologists is to identify the laws governing human behavior and social life.
हाँ, अब उसके बाद वाला बोल दो लास्ट टाइम.
Okay. For that, the sociologist should treat his subject matter in the same way as the physicist or the chemist does.
Full stop. Similarly, Durkheim writes that the researcher should treat social facts as things. ठीक है? Full stop. The sociologist must also collect क्या? Empirical data. The sociologist must also collect empirical data about the social world through observation and experimentation. Through observation and experimentation. Full stop. He should then objectively process the data to identify patterns governing human behavior. He should then objectively process the data to identify patterns governing human behavior. Full stop. Friends, what's your take? Is sociological research characterized by objectivity? Let's come back to that question for a bit. For example, if we are studying this issue, like we took an example of, say, caste-based atrocities, does the caste of the researcher play a role? Or say, caste-based inequality, land ownership, or anything? Does the caste of the researcher play a role in that? Yes or no? Not necessarily. Why do you say that? And this is precisely the point of view of the founding fathers. What he just articulated. Saaf baat hai, we are basing our research on empirical data. Say we are researching caste-based landholding or wealth inequalities across caste groups. So how does it really matter whether it's a Brahmin researcher or a Dalit researcher? The data will not change. If, say, in a given village, 70% land is owned by the upper castes, right, and 25% by the intermediate castes and 5% by the lower castes. Now, whether it is an intermediate caste researcher or a high caste researcher or a low caste researcher, that data remains exactly the same. So, who the researcher is immaterial to the research. Yes or no? So, likewise, if you say take another example of domestic violence. So, if, say, NFHS 5, National Family Health Survey 5, around 29 point something % of the female respondents said that they had experienced spousal violence in the last 1 year or 3 years, something like that. How does it really matter whether the researcher is a man or a woman? That figure of 29% will remain 29%. The 29% female respondents had said that they had experienced spousal violence. Are you with me? So data is supreme. Data is unchanging. Data is objective. तो डेटा ही दाता है, ठीक है ना? डेटा रूल्स. And of course, you need to be cautious as a researcher. You need to be cautious that you don't allow your prejudices to have to color the research. You have to be honest in your research or your approach to the whole research project. So you shouldn't, for example, play with data. You should not, out of convenience, dismiss some data and whatever. Are you with me? So that academic or research integrity would be expected or required. But other than that, data won't change. So no matter how contentious an issue, given that our research is based, see, researchers are human beings with well-framed opinions, etc., on various issues. But their opinions simply won't count if they are honest in their job and data-driven. To likho. Next para. Sociological research. Is also characterized by objectivity. Is also characterized by objectivity. Full stop. Irrespective of the social background and value preferences of the researcher, I repeat, irrespective of the social background and value preferences of the researcher, empirical data will lead all researchers to the same conclusion. ठीक है? If I am a researcher, I am conducting a research regarding, say, satisfaction with marriage. I personally may be very satisfied with my marriage or very dissatisfied with my marriage. How does it matter? What I am collecting is whatever is my sample size, how their views, what their views on marriage are. So I personally may be very happy in my marriage, but if 70% of the respondents view marriage in a negative light or are dissatisfied with marriage, then that is what the research says. Alright? With that, we take a break. Short break. Hello. Yeah. So, welcome back. Slightly fresher. Now, friends, tell me. We've discussed why the founding fathers considered sociology to be a scientific discipline. Are you convinced when Comte argues or Durkheim argues what they do? Forget the stature of, their stature as founding fathers, but argument-wise, logically, are you in agreement? Are you convinced as rational thinking persons with what they have to say? Yes or no? How many of you are not convinced? Raise your hands. Others are? How many of you are convinced? With Comte, etc.? Good. And how many of you are not convinced, I ask again? How many of you think sociology is not a scientific discipline? These guys, very frankly, got it wrong. Please raise your hands. Why?
In the definition of science, we noted that scientific laws are universal in nature and hold true across time and space.
Which in sociology clearly doesn't. Brother?
Just now mentioned that we are collecting data. If a Brahmin is collecting data, he's collecting data. It doesn't matter his caste. But then research is not just collecting data. The processing will be affected by the biases. It's a very small part. Collecting data is you have to churn the data. You have to interpret them.
And there he will show his Brahmin colors. है ना? Like as it were. Or his... हाँ?
Simple example.
हाँ. हाँ.
For example, women's security, there is a research going on. So, sir, because if I walk to bus stand, my experience is different, and a girl's experience is different, and no matter what I do, I cannot never replicate that experience in life, because that is like, for example, those stairs. People stare.
You're not expected as a researcher to replicate those experiences, but capture those experiences.
Sir, just one more line, then what I'm coming to. Sir, so for example, after collecting all the data, that would be same for a female researcher or a male researcher. But a female researcher might conclude in a way that more male education is needed, but I might conclude stricter laws are needed. Like, there can be interpretation differences. I might say that laws are very strict, people are not afraid of punishment, so they are crossing a line time and again, time and again.
You being a male researcher.
Female researchers may say there is lack of education among the male population. They are not treated right things or taught the right things at home, schools and colleges or in society in general.
See, but those conclusions that you say you are arriving at, these are not emanating from your data, it seems. These are rather your suggestions as to the way forward, how we can deal with the issue at hand. The data would be reflecting the same thing or not. That is the moot question. When your data is about, say, women's safety or sense of well-being and security in public places. Brother?
Even experiments can capture whether lack of education, for example, is the factor for...
Okay, so maybe you can have a control group kind of a thing that whether educated men make women feel uncomfortable in public spaces versus uneducated men. Something of the sort. Beti? It can be perspective only in oriented. Acha. And in sociology you can't. It is inherently the nature of the subject is such that you are bound to have multiplicity of viewpoints. Brother?
So the data collected is not objective.
And why do you say that?
Because data is collected from people and interpretation of those people will be different.
The?
Interpretation of everyone will be different.
Again, that is not material, yeah.
So from the people from those data is collected.
Give me an example.
So like, if society data is collected,
Suicide data is collected.
those data collected will be different for different people.
What do you mean? A suicide is a suicide or not? Whether a Hindu commits it or Muslim or Christian or...
Data is not given by the
Oh. ठीक है. नहीं, he's got a point there. हाँ. So it is the family's interpretation you're saying, which would, yes. Okay, one second. What if we collect data from, say, very reliable kind of sources like, say, government, police records, or hospital records, upon which deaths are suicide and which are not? Is that like an objective source of data, a source of objective data? Or you would question the integrity of that data also? It can be, you're saying, can be questioned. Why? You're absolutely right. But why? पुलिस तो सही बोलेगी. चलिए, moving on from that. Yes, brother? So we don't see so much of an influence of a physics, chemistry or bio or organic chemistry as much as we see of pol science and economics, etc. But that's a very flimsy, that's not a wholesome argument to dismiss it as a science. Brother?
Maybe sociology started with this ideology to be scientific, but after Weber, they continued to.
Weber ने सारा खेल खराब कर दिया. Absolutely correct. One sec. Brother? Sorry? You don't get same results every time in a sociological experiment. Can you give like any example or even a hypothetical example? There's greater variability you are suggesting in social life than in the natural world. In collection of data also there is subjectivity. Why do you say in collection of data? So a male researcher might say, एक थप्पड़ एक ही बार तुम्हारा था. That does not really come under the category of domestic violence. या push ही तो किया था, that's not really domestic violence. या forced sex ही तो था, that's not violence. वो तो उसका पति होने का अधिकार है ना? While a female researcher you're saying might interpret it as violence. हाँ.
बस वही पे सब प्रॉब्लम है. वो आप अज्यूम करके चल रहे हैं कि 90 लोग एक ही डायरेक्शन में जवाब देंगे. अगर सर 50 पीपल ने कहा, मान लीजिए कि जैसे अभी मैंने एग्जांपल दिया कि मेल एजुकेशन में प्रॉब्लम है और 49 पीपल ने कहा कि स्ट्रिक्टर लॉज में प्रॉब्लम है, तो आप 100 का नहीं कर सकते क्योंकि बहुत बाइफरकेटेड व्यू है. तो आप 100 का नहीं प्रेडिक्ट कर सकते.
नहीं, my intention was not to suggest that or assume that all people are thinking in a same or similar pattern. But based on the data collected, we can say whether it is 99% or 50%. We can say there's a 50% chance in your example that so and so. Are you with me? And if it is 95%, we'll say 95% chance that it is so and so. Brother? हाँ जी. नवरात्रि में हमारी रिलीजियोसिटी उभर के आती है बाहर. हाँ, सो इट माइट. हाँ, and that's because you're asking stuff and people can respond differently. You can also collect data through observation. कि अगर मैं तिलक धारी हूं, त्रिशूल लेके घूम रहा हूं, you will conclude कि there is a high degree of religiosity that this fellow has compared to the other guy. Brother? Even AI has gender and racial biases. So where does that lead us? You're saying even sciences, is that what you're suggesting? Even the so-called true sciences, pure sciences, can reflect societal biases. AI तो साफ साफ झूठ भी बोलता है, मैंने देखा है. ठीक है, पर्सनली एक्सपीरियंस्ड. बेटी, जो सब्जेक्ट मैटर है ऑफ दी नेचुरल साइंसेज वो डेड टाइप है. यस. No, you see, when you conduct experiments, whether in sociological research or other sciences, and you're trying to identify relationship between two variables, other things you do hold constant. For example, if you say we are holding research on, say religion related you brought up, so, whether members of A particular religious community or B are, say, more prone to radicalization, then you can hold other things constant, such as you can hold income levels constant. So you ask, say, upper strata or middle strata of both communities, people with income between 30,000 and 50,000 per month, from Hindus and Muslims and Christians and Parsis you pick up, or Sikhs you pick up. Likewise, or you can hold nationality constant, you can hold, so that you can neutralize those regional variations, in class-based variations and so on. Social phenomena are very interrelated with each other, you are suggesting. Okay, let me take some online comments. You don't have schools of thought in the natural sciences as such. But in sociology, you have functionalists and conflict theorists or feminists or na jaane kya kya. Though sociology is a science, it is having less multi-pronged approach as science does when it aligned with science. That really escaped me. Yes. Now friends, there is like several of you suggested, there is a very large and should I say today dominant school of thought who contend that sociology is not a scientific discipline. Starting with who? Shri Max Weber. Theek. And these group of scholars or those who think on those lines are very unimaginatively termed as anti-positivists. Those who are against the positivist position are very expectedly termed as anti-positivists. Founding fathers were very clear, sociology is a scientific discipline, they were positivists. Weber onwards, so Weber is the starting point of anti-positivism, okay? And thereafter there are several schools of thought which you may have heard, terms like ethnomethodologists or phenomenologists or symbolic interactionists, etc., who contend, you don't need to write these, who contend that sociology is not a scientific discipline. That you cannot apply the scientific method to study society. The bigger or the more important question is, why? Why do these guys say that the scientific method is not the right method to capture the social reality? these guys argue, like our friend here very rightly did, that there is a very fundamental difference in the subject matter of sociology and that of the natural sciences. Don't write, I will dictate. There is a very fundamental difference in the subject matter of sociology and the subject matter of the natural or physical sciences, basically say physics or chemistry. So you can't have the same methods applied to both disciplines. Basically, the natural sciences deal with matter, with things, with inanimate objects. Yes or no? In sociology, we deal with human relationships. Are you with me? And there is a very fundamental underlying difference between human beings and things. These guys are saying you treat human beings as things. But that's simply not possible for the reason what? What's the difference? Why am I not a thing? Or you not a thing? क्या हम वस्तु प्रकार के नहीं हैं? क्यों नहीं है बिटिया? We have emotions. Simply because we are thinking beings. Unlike things. Things don't think. Things don't have a capacity to think. So, these natural sciences, when they study things, this pen is a thing. Right? So what will it do? Whenever any external force is applied to it. So I apply some force to it. What will it do? There will be a certain acceleration which is produced depending on the amount of force I have applied. Say I have applied F force and A acceleration is produced. Now if I apply F plus delta F1 force, how much acceleration will be produced? A plus delta A1 and F plus delta F2, which is more than delta F1, then A plus delta A2. Now if I again apply F, then how much? A. And again I apply F plus delta F1, then how much? Again A plus delta A1. So any number of times I conduct an experiment on this pen, it will yield the same result depending on the kind of external force which is applied. Clear? So what I can do, I can very easily tabulate all my readings or observations, that when I applied F force, this much, say 5 Newton, 1 meter per second square, 10 Newton, 2, 15 पे 3 and so on and so forth. ठीक? And then I can frame a law. Human beings are not things. Why? Because they have a capacity to think. And that, so they don't mechanically react to external forces which are applied to them. If a human being is subjected to an external force, say if you are pushed, what will you do? If you are pushed by another person, what will you do? क्या करोगे आप? देखो इस पेन को मैंने जितना फोर्स किया वो उसके हिसाब से एक्सेलरेशन प्रोड्यूस हुई. ज्यादा किया तो ये गिर गया. क्या इसने सोचा कि हाय मैं टूट जाऊंगा गिर के या मेरा वजूद खत्म हो जाएगा? Nothing of the sort, because it simply cannot think. So it did not think. It simply reacted to the external stimuli based on its quantum or the amount of force which was applied. आप क्या करोगे कोई धक्का देगा तो? सॉरी, मुंह तोड़ देंगे. सॉरी, मूव. अच्छा, he said move, not मुंह तोड़ देंगे. See, that's my biases at play. Huh? He said move, I'll move, he will move. Okay? What will you do, bete? You will?
I will not take it seriously and
You will move away. What will you do? Anybody who will behave differently when subjected to a dhakka or a push, what will you do? हाँ, you'll ask him कि भाई क्या चल रहा है? हाँ? Yes, brother, what will you do? Resist. So he'll like form a lock or something. He'll say, what will you do? She'll push back. Why not? She'll say, I abide by Newton's third law. So she will push back. Point is, friends, the way we human beings react to external stimuli is not a mechanical response to the force which is applied. Before we react, since we are thinking entities, we are thinking beings, we attach meaning. We interpret that external force. Are you with me? And based on the meaning we attach, we respond. We don't mechanically react. We respond to the external force or stimuli. And the meaning that we attach is the same for all, or is it different from person to person? It will differ from person to person. Why? Based on what? Why will it differ? Why won't you all interpret the dhakka in the same way? Sorry? So why should it differ? How you think and how he interprets it and how he or she, why does it differ? It will differ based on a variety of criteria or factors. Based on your caste and the other person's caste. So you might think, acha, he's pushing me because I'm lower caste and he's higher caste. So it's a caste-based assault, which now that we Dalits are empowered, we must resist. Are you with me? If it is a push from your friend, then you might accept it as a, in banter or mazak mein chalta hai. But if it is a push from the school bully, you might want to resist or stand up to him. Are you with me? Or if it's a push from a stranger, you might ask, ki bhai sahab, kya problem hai, seedhe khade raho. If it's depending on your gender, if you're a female who is pushed and by a male, you might interpret it as a sexual assault and report it to the police. Yes or no? For the same person, will the interpretation, the meaning that they attach to a push will be same and their reaction be same every time? Like this pen, it will fall down when 15 Newton's force is applied. Right? Will it be the same for a particular person every time? No. दोस्त ने भी धक्का दिया, एक बार खा लोगे, दो बार खा लोगे मजाक में, तीसरी बार कहोगे बहुत हो गया. या आज आपने खा लिया, कल घर में झगड़ा हुआ है, मूड अच्छा नहीं है, you will react differently. Yes or no? So based on something as fickle as one's mood at a given moment, your reaction will differ. Are you with me? Take another example. So how we interpret external things, other social actors, depending on our own social background, so many things, so many variables are there. Are you with me? Depending on the context. Agar push aapko laga, say you are in a cricket stadium, there's an India-Pakistan match going on, you are in the India stands, followed, and there's a whole, तो उनको क्या धक्का मारोगे आप? धक्का लगेगा नहीं, आप accept करोगे because that push is expected and even accepted in such a situation. Adrenaline is running high and this euphoria, India has just won and so on. But agar ek empty street, you are a female and an empty street, a male comes and pushes you, you will interpret it very, very differently than in a cricket stadium. Yes or no? So social context पे, situation पे निर्भर करेगा. The meaning that you attach to that same external stimuli. Take another example. If I put fire, okay, to this pen, यहां पे मैंने एक आग लगाई और ये पेन डाल दिया, क्या करेगा ये पेन? How will it react? So first its temperature will rise and then after reaching a certain point of time it will start melting and it will melt. Will it do anything else? Will it think कि हाय मैं तो भस्म होने वाला हूं, कुछ मुझे बचना चाहिए, need to do something? No, it simply doesn't have a thinking capacity. So no matter if I do it 1 time or 10 times or 100 times, I will find the same response of the pen to the external stimuli of fire. But now when you see a fire, what will you do? क्या करोगे? आग दिखेगी तो He will run away. दुनिया जाए भाड़ में. What will you do, बिटिया? You will also run away. What will you do, brother? ये पानी डालेंगे. He'll take a more proactive this thing. Huh? He's like, I'm not a bhagoda and I'm here to save the world. So ये पानी डाल देंगे उस पे. Anybody who will behave or react differently. कि वो कौन सी आग है? अगर आप मंदिर में हो, दिया में चासी हुई आग है, क्या उस पे पानी डाल दोगे? हाँ? नहीं. क्या करोगे? उसको आरती लोगे, नमस्ते. यस और नो? और अगर चूल्हे पे जली हुई आग है, क्या उस पे पानी डाल दोगे? नहीं. Why? Because the meaning that you attach to that fire changes with the context. फिर क्या करोगे? उस पे रोटी पोओगे. Yes or no? So depend करेगा आग कितनी बड़ी है, कितनी दूर है, कहां है. So many factors. है ना? The interpretation or the meaning attached to that fire will change. Are you with me? Point is, friends, human beings do not mechanically react to the external stimuli. They attach meaning to it. That meaning is not fixed. It greatly varies from person to person. For the same person, from one situation to the other. In other words, you cannot identify any patterns. You can't say all will react in the same way. There is great variation in human behavior. Such a different perspective from the positivist approach. Are you with me? This is what we call anti-positivism, or also known as social action approaches. लिखो. सॉरी, जल्दी से लिखो फिर. फॉलोइंग मैक्स वेबर. इनका नाम है मैक्स वेबर. कहीं मार्क्स वेबर मत कर देना, ठीक है? बहुत ही अजीब सा मिलन हो जाएगा वो. फॉलोइंग मैक्स वेबर, many sociologists contend that society cannot be studied using the scientific method. Full stop. The subject matter of natural sciences in bracket matter. What is the subject matter of natural sciences? Matter, bracket close, is fundamentally different from the subject matter of the I repeat, the subject matter of the natural sciences, which is matter, is fundamentally different from the subject matter of the social sciences. Bracket में human beings. Full stop. Unlike matter, man has consciousness. Man has consciousness. What do you mean by consciousness? We have an awareness of being. Yes or no? We are living, thinking entities. Unlike matter, man has consciousness. Full stop. Matter mechanically reacts Matter mechanically reacts to external forces that are applied to it. Matter mechanically reacts to external forces that are applied to it. Comma, man does not. Full stop. Man attaches meaning to his own actions, comma, those of others, and any other external stimuli. नेचुरल फिनोमेना को भी हम लोग अलग अलग इंटरप्रेट करते हैं. बारिश में कोई नाचने लगेगा, कोई मेलनकली सा हो जाएगा, कोई भीगने से बचेगा. यस और नो? एंड एनी अदर स्टिमुलाई. फुल स्टॉप. द मीनिंग्स दैट मैन अटैचेस वेरी ग्रेटली. Not V-E-R-Y, V-A-R-Y. Vary greatly. Depending on, I repeat, meaning that man attaches vary greatly depending on various factors such as the social background of the actor and the counter actors. Say when you are getting pushed, you are the actor, the guy pushing you is the counter actor, right? The other persons involved in the situation. Comma, the social context. Like I said, a fire in a temple will be treated differently than a fire in a building or a fire on the stove, right? That's the social context. Comma, personal life experiences. So, if I had some moments in childhood when I was pushed and everybody had started laughing, then I would be very wary of being pushed again. Yes or no? Personal life experiences, one's mood at a given moment, etc. ठीक है? So friends, these are two vastly different approaches. The main difference is for the positivists, man or his actions are largely controlled by society. I have no this thing. I don't decide what I do according to the positivists. Society hands me a script, I am simply playing that role. But according to anti-positivists, man has a lot of what we call agency. He decides. Are you with me? So how I behave as a teacher, I will establish my own rapport with my students. I am not playing some predetermined script. Are you with me? Society may give you certain roles कि भैया टीचर ऐसा होता है वैसा होता है. But then, how I shape my relationship with you is dependent on me and you. So, according to anti-positivists, there is a lot of room for maneuverability. According to positivists, people are stuck with their given life scripts. Are you with me? तो मैं, according to positivists, मैं एक पिता का रोल निभा रहा हूं, एक पति का रोल निभा रहा हूं, एक टीचर का रोल निभा रहा हूं, एक एम्प्लॉयर का निभा रहा हूं, जैसे समाज ने बताया है. According to anti-positivists, I am the guy who decides. Society can only give me very broad guidelines. So my relationship with my father is very different from his relationship with his father and his with his and his with his. Kyun? It is kind of a negotiated thing between the two persons involved, the two social actors involved. You can't identify any laws governing human behavior. because there are no fixed patterns which human behavior follows. सबको जाने की जल्दी है. I can see that in your eyes. Huh? He's almost up and running. ठीक है? So you get this thing, right? Positivists see human beings as simply controlled automatons responding to the societal expectations. Anti-positivists see human beings as active agents and creators of their own social world. ठीक? बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद. जी लो अपनी जिंदगी. ठीक है? यस.